Welcome, friends and fellow horse fiends. You've landed on Come Ride With Me, a podcast dedicated to helping you find harmony, joy, and success in your riding. I'm your host, Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened. This pod isn't about training your horse, but about training you to be the best partner for your horse. Listen to find out how I use my intention to direct my ride. You'll hear how I decide what to focus on, what to say yes to, and when to redirect my horse. You'll see how not getting frustrated or overwhelmed is the easiest path to sanity and harmony. So, what are you waiting for? Come ride with me. Hey there, horse fiends. Welcome back to Come Ride With Me. I'm your host, Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened, and this season we're diving headfirst into letting go of perfectionism in our riding, our mindset, and our horse-human partnerships. Today's episode is called Embracing Imperfection, How Horses Can Teach Us. But before we get into it, let's take a quick look at where we've already been. In episode 1, we uncovered how perfectionism creeps into our riding through subtle patterns, overthinking, overriding, overcorrecting. We talked about how this mindset not only disconnects us from our horses, but creates friction in our bodies, our energy, and our communication. Then, in episode 2, I introduced the passenger or passive riding experiment, a 5-minute ride where you let your horse take the lead while you just be. It's a powerful way to practice trust, let go of control, and tune in to feel what's happening beneath you. And when I was thinking about prepping for this episode, it occurred to me that a lot of us might be in a relationship with our horses like we were with ourselves when we were in our 20s. And so if you're in your 20s right now, you might think about this. We think we know what we want and where we want to go in life, right? Like we've just come out of that teenage stage. We know everything. We think we know what we want to do. Sometimes we don't know what we want to do, but we still know that we want control of our lives. We want to take it back from our parents, right? And once we get older and wiser, we realize that we don't really have control of the universe ever, And it's kind of like your horse. You really can't control them. You can partner with them. You can ask them to do things, but you can't really ever have full control of them, right? And it's kind of like life, because you really can't have full control over that either. So a lot of times we just don't realize that until we get older and wiser. And if we're stuck in that relationship with our horse, like we kind of know what we want, but we really don't know how to get there. And we really want to control the horse, but the horse maybe doesn't feel like they want to be controlled, because horses don't really want to be controlled. How do we start to learn to partner with our horses and communicate with them rather than just trying to control everything that they do? So then we talked about speed versus latency in the learning process in the last 2 episodes. And some of us may have gone through a long latent period back in our 20s when we were trying to figure out where to go with our lives too. That's kind of the great thing about horses, is they can teach you things really quickly, and usually when you're least expecting it. Kind of like kids. So if you had no idea where you wanted to go, but then you had kids, you probably had to figure it out more quickly than those of us who waited until later to have kids. We could just have an even longer latent period. Or maybe we're just hard-headed. I don't know. But think about if we had all of this knowledge about life and horses and children before we actually had them or were going through life, how much better would we be able to show up? And that's what this podcast is all about. It's about you being able to show up as the best human for your horse. So how did your speed versus latency experiment go? Were you able to notice some places in your riding that you might just be sucking the life right out of you and your horse with latency? I would love to hear about it if you did or if you didn't. What did you notice? If you want to dig even deeper with the first 4 episodes, there are a couple episodes in season 1 that may be helpful. They are leading and following and creating the freely forward horse. So you can watch both of them on YouTube, or you can just listen to them as well. They explore how leadership and feel develop responsiveness instead of rigidity. Which brings us to today. What holds many riders back isn't a lack of skill. It's the pressure to be perfect, the pressure that the industry puts on equestrians. And then we think that it's a lack of skill. But it's not. There's so much tradition that runs on the idea of should. You should ride like this. Your horse should move like that. You shouldn't do that. You should do it like everyone else. And then you have someone like me who asks, why? Most of those rules and beliefs were created long before we had any real data on what horses need to thrive. Science is relatively new in the horse world, so many training ideas are based on anecdotes and what worked for this person in that situation. There is so much, this is how it's always been done. And I mean, always? Like, what is always? Humans haven't even really been using horses for entertainment and not labor for that long, so always is really not that long. And here's the thing that came with horses being used more for entertainment purposes was liability, right? Everybody is afraid of liability. So there's a lot of fear-based energy out there that says you must do it this way because something could happen. Now, we also have physical fears, mental fears, afraid of falling off or afraid of hurting ourselves. But we have all of these thoughts about what could happen if our horse got loose on the road, or if somebody else wanted to ride our horse, or whatever. There's all of these coulda, shouldas. And then there's that ultimate fear, the horse winning the battle. We don't use horses in battle anymore, at least not here in the US that I know of. Horses don't have wars either. They live mostly in the present. And if they have a battle, let's say with another horse, it's short-lived. It has no emotional baggage that comes with it. And once that squabble is over, it's done. If it needs to be revisited in the future, it may be. But again, there's no emotional baggage. There aren't two horses walking around throwing side eye at each other and telling their buddies how much so-and-so sucked about life, right? They don't do that. Humans are the ones who carry the battle scars. And we say we love our horses, but we often train in ways that confuse them. As humans, we contradict what our horses need most a lot of the time. They crave safety and clarity. And oftentimes, they aren't sure if they're safe because of our energy. And then we're not clear about what we want, which also makes them feel unsafe. So it's a vicious cycle. Horses know the contradiction. They feel the contradiction. And we do too, even if we don't admit it. So today we're going to flip the script. We're going to talk about how horses, in their natural, present, and imperfect state, can teach us to let go of that should noise. And remember what it feels like to be in flow in relationship, and in trust. So I just tried to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole on how horses live in the present. And that's, for the most part, they do. Domestic horses, I believe, do have they retain some feelings because they aren't allowed to discharge those feelings like they would in a natural environment. So one of the greatest gifts that horses give us is their ability to live in the present. They're not worried about that one bad ride last week or stressing over what their canter transitions will look like tomorrow. In fact, in the field, they're going to be beautiful. They are here now, and they'd like to know what we want from them. They're tuned into their bodies, their needs, the environment around them, and they want us to do the same. They also prefer that we're tuned into our own bodies and needs first, because knowing our own selves makes us better partners and makes us easier to read. For the horses, remember, a lot of their communication is empathic. They are empathic by nature, right? They don't use language. Usually when you see horses using body language, it's pretty far down the scale of communication, or pretty far up the scale of communication, however you want to look at it, but it's not the first thing that they do. And their body language starts usually much smaller than our human body language around them starts. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, you are not trying to hide your imperfections from your horse. Your horse knows they are there. They don't care. They would rather you just acknowledge them and got on with your day. They're kind of like your hairdresser. They know everything, so be comfortable with that. Horses don't expect us to be perfect. They just expect us to be present. So when we show up in our perfectionist mindset, overthinking everything and micromanaging every move, we miss the quiet conversation they're offering. And if you've been around children, you can certainly appreciate the benefit of a quiet adult conversation, right? Imagine that is what your horse wants. And wouldn't it be nice to have that? When we ride with our mind stuck in that should, stuck in the fixing mode, our horse feels it. And the trouble is they don't understand fixing. They just feel that energy as uncertainty and tension, which is unsettling for them. And then, ding, 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 your horse is unsettled. That's your predator brain at work, and they don't like it. Instead, when we ride with curiosity, softness, and presence, our horse feels like they can communicate with us and that we are a partner worth trusting. That's when the real flow state starts. Because rigid expectations will kill your flow. And I know you have some rigid expectations. Well, what are they? Should your horse be obedient every moment? Should they only pay attention to you? Should they go in the wash stall and stand on the mat? Should they do their flying changes by now? Should they not be leaning on your right rein all of the time? Should they just stand still? The shoulds are a flow killer. The energy of should is heavy. It's heavy for riders too. I mean, a UFO should not land in the middle of your field on any given day. But could it? Sure. Why not? I've heard of hot air balloons landing in fields. We've all seen the screaming emergency vehicles blow by, or maybe it's just that dude down the street with a loud muffler. I grew up on naval air stations. The farm where I learned to ride had plane crashes on the farm. Things happen. Stuff that shouldn't happen does. It's life. We must learn to go with it. We also need to learn tools to cope with things that happen. And hopefully we come out the other side better than we went in. But if not, we can go to therapy. We don't have to stand in the streets and be beaten with a stick. Yes, should energy is that heavy. We all know it is, so let it go. When you're stuck in the shoulds, you ride from a place of rigidity. Not just your body, but your mind. We aren't partnering with our horse. We're riding against them, trying to micromanage the outcome instead of feeling what's happening in real time and figuring out how to flow with it. Then we get stuck in that latent period and nothing is being learned. So we just keep up this vicious cycle of should and should nots, instead of turning your rides into a pressure cooker. Start noticing what your horse is offering. Notice what questions they're asking. Notice when they want to say yes and when they don't. Notice when you want to micromanage or when you start to have those should thoughts. Slow it down, get curious, and try playing with solutions. Horses love play. Comfort, safety, and play, their favorite things. When we let go of rigid expectations, we leave space for discovery, for connection, for noticing what our horse is offering, instead of what we think they should be offering. This is where you have to have a little faith. Trust the process and just start listening to your horse and noticing. You just need to be quiet for a few minutes. Then things start to shift. Your whole riding experience softens. You start to see that real progress doesn't come from clenching harder, controlling more, or drilling until you're both exhausted. It comes from staying present, asking questions, allowing the answers. Big key, allowing the answers. And then being curious about what might change something that you don't like. You're also going to have to allow some room for some messiness. And maybe some surprises. Not bad, but good surprises. Because now that you're asking questions and you're curious, your horse may say, but maybe this. And you're like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. So when I think of like an example of letting it be a little bit messy to get to a place of mutual conversation, and the big one that every dressage rider wants, right? Self-carriage. We do so much to inhibit our horse's ability to self-carry, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So I used to work with a lot of off-the-track thoroughbreds, and they tend to pull into the rein, and they don't know how to regulate their balance and their speed because they have just been taught to run as fast as they can, regardless of whether there's a UFO landing in the field or not. It's just go. So some riders just sort of set into that pool, and they think in that way they're controlling the speed and they're also balancing the horse. And what's happening is there's a counterbalance going on. And in no universe is this self-carriage. Counterbalancing is not self-carriage. And I promise it will come back to bite you later. So instead, my response is to go with the give and take and ask questions. For instance, I asked the horse to go trotting. I already know in my mind what trot I want. It's not going to be an Olympic level trot if I'm just starting this exercise. It may just be that it's a steady 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Very simple. I ask them to go that speed. I show them what that speed is right off the bat from the transition. Then if they go faster, I make a change. Maybe it's a half halt, maybe it's a turn, maybe it's a circle, maybe it's a full halt. Usually I play with all of the above. I'll even use obstacles to go around. The point is I get curious about what gets their attention. I'm asking the question. If I, will you? Remember, the horse isn't being bad. This is what they've been taught to do. Okay? So getting mad or frustrated is not going to speed up their learning process. It's going to lead you into a long latent period of hanging on to the horse for dear life. So ask a question, right? Make a half halt. Use the inside rein, use the outside rein. Circle left, circle right. Turn left, turn right. Go around a barrel, go around a jump, whatever. Come back to a walk, halt. What changes? And when does the horse go, is there something that you need me to do? And you may have to ask the question several times, especially if you have a horse like that that's been taught to do one thing and one thing only. They don't have a whole lot of, bank of questions built up because they were only taught to do one thing. So in that case, you may have to ask the questions, a lot of questions in the beginning. You're gonna be like your 2-year-old, your 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old. I don't know when they stop asking questions. Mine aren't that old yet. But anyway, I'm talking about human children. So ask questions. Be like a 5-year-old. Don't have the emotions of a teenager when you're doing it. Just ask matter-of-fact questions, even if they seem irrelevant. Okay, just like kids. These moments of learning and curiosity are not going to be perfect. And sometimes they're not pretty either. Not that they're ugly, they're just messy. I'm not talking about anyone getting dysregulated and angry, jerking the horse's head off, anything like that. You just may have a messy moment when there's a miscommunication about whether you're circling or turning or going around the jump or going over it or whatever. It's fine. It's all fine. Stuff happens. The messy moments will work themselves out as long as you don't attach a bunch of emotional crap to them. Remember, you're leaving the big emotions, the teenage emotions, at home. You're asking matter-of-fact questions. And my go-to phrase is usually just, oopsie. Can we try that again? Or can you? Framing your language into questions opens up your curiosity. It opens up your brain to solutions. So I promise, if you can embrace imperfections in your writing, you are going to make more progress faster. So let's talk about 4 ways to embrace imperfection in your writing quick and easy. Maybe not emotionally easy, but logically thinking it's easy. Be present. Before you get on, take a minute, couple minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Breathe, feel your body, ground yourself in the here and now. Leave the non-horse things in the car. Leave the things that you didn't like that your horse did before you got on it in the barn aisle, right? Leave it all there. Drop it wherever your horse is not, okay? Because it doesn't matter once you're riding. Drop the FOPO, or the fear of other people's opinions. And yes, even for those of you that ride alone, you still have some FOPO. You're not at the Olympics today. You're trying to connect with your horse so that you can think about the Olympics one day. Let it be that simple. And if thinking about the Olympics is daunting, then just take that out of there, right? You are just simply learning about your horse today. Celebrate small wins. That one breath, that one soft step, that one moment of self-carriage and ease. Celebrate it. Those are your building blocks and your speedy rewards. So no latent periods. Your rides are probably going to go faster. Don't be scared by that. It's fine. If your horse needs fitness, you can do different things to build that up. But take those small wins and celebrate them. Your horse will learn so much faster. Learn from the mistakes. We hear this all the time. But what I mean by that is don't make a rush to correct a mistake. Get curious about it. What might your horse be showing you? Framing your thoughts around questions, like I said earlier, is a great way to start figuring this out. Asking them questions. Can you go? Can you put your shoulder in? Can you stop? Can you balance without my help? Can you canter? Oh, maybe you can canter, but you'd have to do that weird thing with your head? What does that weird thing with your head mean? You see how that changes my thought process about it. Instead of canter, well, what are you doing with your head? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why do you always do that with your head? Ugh, it's ugly. It's terrible. But we got cantering, so we're just going to go ahead and do it anyway. All that did was teach your horse that that's how they get into the canter, was by doing that weird thing with their head. And that weird thing with their head is probably going to be related to their relaxation, energy, or balance. And now you can get curious about what that means, because I'm not going to tell you today. Today, we're going to focus on making it messy. And that's your homework. Go forth and be messy. Okay? This week's writing experiment is going to make some of you very uncomfortable. Is it weird that I enjoy that thought a little bit? Okay. I'm sorry. I think it's fun to see people stretch their weirdo skills, because my weirdo skills are terrible. I'm completely cool with you being messy. I'm completely cool with me being messy now, too. And as I talk longer, my language gets messier. Wow. Because I don't really see that as weird. I don't see these messy moments in riding as being weird anymore. It's weird, right? But let's just say that you are not going to find me in any interpretive dance classes. Interpretive horsemanship, maybe, but definitely not dance. As riders, we're super good at making corrections we don't even know we're making. We're great at holding things together without even knowing it. So I'm going to challenge you to quit doing that. It's not helping. You can pick any messy subject you like. And remember, I would love to see your messy experiments. Tag me on the gram or TikTok or send me a YouTube link. It can be a private one. I'm going to stick with my rushy off-the-track thoroughbred example that I used earlier, because there are plenty of us out there that have that problem. There's plenty of rushy, big old warm bloods out there as well. So first, and only if you're comfortable, because this is really important, instead of correcting the rushy, ask for more of it. Yep, make the problem bigger on purpose. Let it be exaggerated. Let it be obvious. Now, you don't have to start at the canter. You can start at the walk. okay? Your horse does the same thing at every gate. And they do the same thing online. So if you're not even comfortable doing this riding, you could do it on the line, okay? But allow the horse to go bigger, faster, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be for a long time, just for a few steps of you not trying to control it so that you can feel what is going on. You are resisting the urge to fix it. You are just being curious, letting your body feel what's really going on and letting your brain start to formulate some questions. This is also why it's super helpful to start at the walk, because sometimes when our brain starts thinking, we forget about the riding. Doing this exercise is going to help that. It's part of your perfectionism. You're like, I can't do too many things at one time. But you can. You do many, many things at the same time all day long. I have faith in you. So when you start to ask these questions, is your horse relaxed? Am I relaxed? Is my horse balanced? Am I balanced? Does my horse have too much energy? Or do they just not know how to regulate it? Because maybe they're not overly energetic. Maybe they're just not balanced and they run forward. It doesn't even matter if you come up with the correct answer right away. What matters is that you're thinking about it and you're feeling it. And then you're going to start to wonder, if I'm not relaxed or they're not relaxed, how do I get that way? If this is a balance issue, can I play with their body shape? Or if it's my balance, my body shape, my position, and make it better? Can I ask the horse to change their energy level? Does that get better? Will they go slower and stay slower? Or do they go slow a few steps and then speed back up? If I ask them to speed up, do they slow down? Sometimes that happens. Resist the urge to try doing multiple things at once. Like, don't go faster and on the circle. Right now, we're just doing one thing at a time. So, make one half halt. What happened? If nothing, cool, try something else. Inside rein, outside rein. Make a turn. Stop. Whatever. But look for that one moment, that 1 second when something changes and your horse asks you a question back. That's what you want. You want them to go, oh, what do you need me to do? Or, I could try that. Or what if we tried this? Doesn't mean that you have to follow your horse's lead all of the time. Just means that you have to notice what is available for them at any given moment. And as you do this, as you progress, and you do this more and more frequently, you will learn that on different days they have different availability, just like you do. Okay, so when you find that moment, and just trust it, just trust your instincts, don't wonder, don't think, let me try one more time, just quit. And you can go on to do something else. You don't have to quit your ride entirely if you don't feel like that's the way to go. Stop with that exercise. Go on to something else. This works because you stop babysitting your horse and you start giving them some responsibility. Because newsflash, also like children or employees, your horses are capable and they feel better when they have agency and purpose. Bonus, this also gives you a break, gives your brain a break, gives your body a break. So stop hiding the problems behind little fixes. That is just teaching your horse to do what you don't want them to do because you're facilitating it. You are enabling. Start teaching actual clarity and autonomy. Your mind will get clearer. You'll get out of the perfection mode and into real embodied learning for you and your horse. So today's big takeaways: that perfectionism isn't helping your horse. It's confusing them and you. Being curious about the mistakes will open a doorway to your best riding yet. Try the Make It Messy experiment this week. Let it be weird. Let it feel wonky. Watch it. Break out that Pivo or have your bestie video. You know, the one that you don't have FOPO with. Then feel what shifts when you stop fighting the imperfection and start learning. DM me, tag me at Equus Enlightened. Share what came up for you. I'd love to hear your messy wins and aha moments. Thanks for riding the imperfect ride with me. And as always, happy riding. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Come Ride With Me. My goal is to demonstrate to riders that we don't have to do something every second of a ride. We don't have to do things a certain way or at a certain time. Just staying present with your horse and gathering non-judgmental information about how they are going is way more beneficial than overthinking and overworking. If you'd like to learn more about what I do at Equus Enlightened, you can find me at equisenlightened.net or on patreon.com/equisenlightened. You can also find me on social media as Equus Enlightened. I will put all the links in the show notes. And until next time, happy riding. Oh, before you go, please remember to rate, review, and share this pod so others can find it. I would love constructive criticism, but like my mom used to say, if you don't have anything really nice to say, there's no need to say it. Just ride on, my friends. Have a great week.